The late Oscar Wilde once said that imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, but what a lot of people don't realise is that's only half the quote. The full quote is, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery that mediocrity can pay to greatness. And that, I think, perfectly applies to the street gang that tears up Neo-Gotham, the Jokerz. These bozos are the disillusioned and disenfranchised youth of the future, kids who've rejected the system and latched onto chaos as an identity. Batman Beyond doesn't go into great detail about daily life in Neo-Gotham. It uses a lot of the same dystopian imagery seen in other media. We get Blade Runner-like skylines and Akira-level clutter, but overall, things seem just fine. And maybe that's the problem. To kids who feel invisible in a society that runs without them, the Joker isn't just a villain. He's a myth that had not been forgotten even decades after he died. So they slap on the grease paint and try to become part of the story, a distorted legacy passed down like a punchline with no setup. It takes a staggering lack of self-awareness to idolise the Joker, and yet, here they are. Dozens of them, maybe hundreds. They see themselves as disruptors, rebels without restraint. But mostly they just zip around on motorbikes yelling at civilians and getting in people's way. They've never poisoned Gotham's reservoir, they've never laughed their way through a murder spree. They're not anarchists. They're not madmen. They're bored teenagers with no future and too much time. And the greatest joke is that they can't see it. They don't follow some grand manifesto. They are the cast-offs, kids who can't read, whose parents don't care about them, and they want to feel like someone for once in their lives. They reject conformity, but only to join another kind of uniform, a costume heavily inspired by a madman. They're a gang of grinning goons pretending to be something more than they are. It's rebellion by way of nostalgia, only they weren't even alive during the original Joker's heyday. That's not to say they're harmless though. In Rebirth Part 1, a gang of Jokers chases Terry McGinnis across the city and comes close to stabbing him before an elderly Bruce Wayne steps in. So yes, they can be dangerous, but generally they're pale imitations of the clown prince of crime, children trying to wear a legend's skin, and that's a delicious irony. Legacy is a primary theme of Batman Beyond. It's Terry McGinnis' whole deal. He continues the legacy of Batman and tries to be a good person to honour his deceased father. He is mentored by the original Batman, which legitimizes him. He's no pale imitator. He is Batman. The Joker, meanwhile, has nothing. He died in the pursuit of securing a legacy. And as a result of this, he left nothing behind, but a vague idea of who he was and what he stood for. Frankly, I'm surprised that Joker wasn't outraged by those losers tarnishing his reputation when he came back, but that's a topic for another time. Where Terry's Batman stands on the shoulders of giants, the Jokers root through the wreckage of a bygone monster and try to wear his skin. They don't understand the Joker at all. And how could they? He barely understood himself, but they're drawn to the aesthetic of chaos, the illusion of power and the legacy of not caring. That has its own allure, especially for young people who feel ignored, marginalised or powerless. Disenfranchised and disinterested youth often look for something that makes them feel significant. And what better way to rebel than to take up the symbol that society fears most? The Joker wasn't just a villain, he was the villain. But unlike Terry, who earns his legacy by shouldering responsibility, the Jokers want the glory without the meaning. They play at villainy like it's a costume party. They don't understand that the Joker was the embodiment of pure evil that no one would ever be able to replicate, and their imitation is, at best, a parody. There are several Joker factions in Batman Beyond, and it's worth looking at a few of them to understand what kind of cult sprung up around the Joker. In the episode Once Burned, we get a glimpse at Joker's culture, if you can call it that. They're holed up in an abandoned factory watching splicer fights and goofing off like edgy kids at a theme park with no adults. When Batman and Ten show up, they swarm like ants, but there's no strategy or ideology, just chaos and loud noises. They may cosplay madness, but they lack the conviction to be mad. The first major group we meet is led by J-Man, a Joker lookalike voiced by Bruce Timm himself. He's got a half a dozen lackeys, most of whom barely speak, but one of them does stand out, and that's Scab. Scab first appeared in Rebirth Part 1 as the Joker who got into a fight with Terry McGinnis on public transport. He's seen many times throughout the series in the background. but he had a prominent role in the episode Joyride, where he steals a military prototype vehicle. It's not just a cool ride. To him, it's power. He uses it to dominate, impress, and intimidate. The gang uses it to fight a rival crew, the T's, and to steal burgers. This perfectly demonstrates how limited their scope is. When Dr. Price, the designer of the vehicle, looks at the damage they've done and calls them monsters, Batman interjects. They are just kids. And that's reflected perfectly in Scab. He doesn't understand what he's playing with. The vehicle is unstable, a literal ticking time bomb that could destroy half the city, and when he's warned it might kill him, he'd rather explode than give it up. That's the Jokers in a nutshell. They chase power without grasping its consequences, and they'd rather go out in flames than be forgotten. Joyride also gives us a twisted look at the Joker's initiation rituals. In a cave isolated from the world, they prepare a new recruit, right next to a skeleton in a clown costume. Some fans thought this was the Joker's corpse, but that doesn't actually hold up. In Return of the Joker, Barbara Gordon confirms that the Joker was buried on Arkham's grounds. And just look at the skeleton's outfit. Green jacket, weird purple flower. He looks less like the classic Joker, more like one of those cheap Kenner repaint action figures from the 1990s. While we aren't shown what the initiation involved, I think that this is all theatre, not legacy. Either their rituals are dangerous and somebody died, or they want newbies to think they are. It's all performance. The next notable group is Terminal's gang, though they're probably the least interesting. Just 4 members and Terminal's the centrepiece. He's less interested in Joker's ideology than in using the imagery as a tool for his own ends, largely to lash out at his overbearing parents. They don't worship Joker, they just wear his face like a mask. There's nothing else behind it. Terminal was a wounded little boy who felt that he could never ever be good enough for his parents, and that's why he chose this crazed identity. If you do want to hear more about Terminal, I've got a whole video about him, which I have linked to in the description and the info button in the top right corner. Add that to your watch later list. Arguably the most significant Joker's crew appeared in Return of the Joker. This is the most fleshed out iteration, not just in design, but in personality. This group consists of Bonk, Chucko, Ghoul, Woof, and the Didi twins, and crucially, they work for the real Joker. They're not tribute acts, they're employees. Sure, they stick to the circus aesthetic, but each has their own angle. Bonk is a circus strongman. Ghoul leans more towards Scarecrow. Woof's a hyena splicer. The Didis are go-go dancing Raggedy Ann dolls. And Chucko is a clown. Their Joker inspiration is still there, but it's more subtle. It's still style over substance, but with a bit more professionalism. Out of all of them, the Didi twins are probably the most memorable, because Return of the Joker reveals that they are the granddaughters of Harley Quinn, and their ancestry gives them authenticity that the other Jokers don't have. Broadly speaking, I don't like future villains that are the descendants of present-day villains, but here it works because Batman Beyond avoided that tedious trope. Nearly all of the villains in that show weren't connected to the historical rogues, which made it feel special when the classic villains turned up. While this branch of the Jokers were easily beaten by Batman and Ace, they reappeared in Justice League Unlimited. In the 2-parter The Once and Future Thing, we get a twisted alternate future version of these clowns, thanks to the time-travelling thief Kronos. In his attempt to rule all of time and space, Kronos recruited these Jokers and gave them significant upgrades. The Didis can now duplicate and carry electric whips. Ghoul has a buzzsaw arm. Bonk, now back to life, has a transformable mallet hand. Woof has mechanical arms. And Chucko has replaced his legs with a ball, which I guess makes him move faster? While these upgrades make them more powerful, and they do eventually defeat the Justice League, they're still unreliable and disorganized. Chucko sells out to Batman, and Ghoul caves under pressure, telling the League everything they need to know about Kronos. They're dangerous when armed with tech, but they're disloyal, disinterested, and devoid of purpose. Which, now that I think about it, is a pretty good summary of the Jokers in general. When Batman and Green Lantern captured Kronos, this version of the group of Jokers was erased from reality, along with the nightmarish events that took place in that story. Outside of the show, the Jokers appeared in the mainline continuity Batman Beyond comics, with Terminal leading an army of them in an effort to loot Wayne Enterprises. They're a recurring background feature in these comics, but rarely have a significant role. In the present-day era, however, Detective Comics number 867, published in 2010, brought the Jokers into the mainline DC continuity. In that version, people take a drug that transforms them into manic Joker clones. Their chaos spurs regular citizens into dressing up as Batman to restore order. It's not a one-on-one match for Batman Beyond, but the themes are similar. The Joker as a viral idea, spreading from one generation to the next. If I had to guess, this was less of a tribute to Batman Beyond and more a tie-in for the then upcoming Gotham City Imposters video game, but the resemblance is still worth noting. In summary, the Jokers don't understand the Joker, and I guess they didn't really need to. They just needed something, anything, to define themselves in a world that didn't care if they existed. In that sense, they're not really villains, they're just nuisances that are the victims of neglect, boredom, and a desire to be part of something. But in doing so, they've turned Gotham's darkest joke into a costume. They've trivialized the Clown Prince of Crime. Their tribute to him is not funny, it's hollow. While Terry McGinnis became Batman carrying Bruce Wayne's legacy forward, the Jokers became clowns by dodging it. The Jokers wear his face, but they never knew the man beneath the smile. And I think it's ironic that one of the Joker's biggest fears is being forgotten, but in the time of Batman Beyond, his legacy has been diluted to the point that the Jokers barely resemble the man they're supposed to be emulating. Okay, that's it for this week's essay. If you liked the video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, tell all your friends about me. You know how YouTube works. If you really enjoyed the video and have the means, please consider making use of the thanks button to send a buck or two my way, because every little helps. I offer channel memberships for $1.99 a month. This will get you early access to my weekly video essay, priority responses to your comments, members-only videos, custom emojis, and an icon on your profile indicating that you're one of my people. And special thanks to my channel members. Everyone who was a member at the time of this video's creation is listed on the screen right now. If you want to see your name amongst all these wonderful people, join the channel now. Next time, I'll be back on Monday to talk about the person that came in last place on my most recent Beware the Batman poll. Yes, it's time to talk about the great fighter who was reimagined as Ra's al Ghul's fist, Lady Shiva. And next Friday, I want to talk about one of the strongest episodes of Superman the Animated Series, where the Man of Steel heads to Gotham City in its hour of need. Yes, it's the Batman crossover episode that doesn't actually have Batman in it. It's nighttime. Hope to see you then.